So I finally got my hands on the new Big Jerm MVP Tour Series disc, his first disc with MVP. This is the Axiom Tempo. I believe the flight numbers are 4402.5. So in essence, it's a slightly glidier, a little bit less stable zone. So I have a Get Freaky zone with me. Kind of similar plastic feel was kind of what I was going for, but in theory this should be a little bit more stable, dump out a little bit earlier. But I'm happy to try this out. And also, last time we were here out at this hole, it was covered in snow, so much better now. We're gonna play some of the short holes here at Shadow Pines, some of the reds, and just kind of get a feel for it. So my initial expectation is, like I said, it's gonna be a little bit less stable. But just first off, I mean, first of all, I love the sort of approach or mid-range disc with the gyro on it. I just love the MVP mid-range lineup. So this is obviously another disc that I really like. And also, MVP has not missed with their stamps. They have some of the best stamps, I think, in the game, and this plastic looks amazing, honestly. But yeah, feels really good. We'll see how it flies. We'll go with the zone first, though. We know how it flies. We'll go backhand, actually. I'll throw a backhand out there. Just hyzer it into the basket. Oh yeah, pretty stable and short. Call that a warm-up, a little bit short. Have a long putt. I'll try and throw this on the same line. If it is glidier and less stable, I should be able to get it there on pretty much that line. Oh, that's a little surprising. It definitely has more glide. It went further, but pretty much the same amount left. It honestly has some decent stability. You know, I probably threw these on a touch too much hyzer. Ended up pretty far left, but got a little step putt. Not enough. You know where this thing landed, I could see what they mean by glide. It definitely has a little bit more glide than the zone, but I don't know, maybe I put on a little bit more hyzer. It seemed like it got pretty far left though. Oh, just missed. Pars for both. All right, first throws out of the car. Not really much of a warm-up either, so got to calibrate a little bit. I'm gonna play the whites here on hole 4, actually, because it's about 285, I think, and like just a tiny bit uphill, so it probably plays close to 300. I think if this is the more glide that it seems like it has, I should be able to get it there. I don't know if I can quite comfortably get a zone there without having to really juice it. So we're gonna try both out, see which one can get up to the basket, if I can get either of them up there at all. And you know, get the body warmed up a little bit, throw a bit of a higher power shot. I'm gonna try and throw it kind of flat, like almost like a flex line out to the right and get it to crash back. Anything that's like up by that bunker on the left, sort of in line with that, so within C1, I'd be pretty happy. I think it's funny too, this tee pad is literally pointed directly at the bunker. Like the basket is kind of off to the right a little bit, and if I throw it straight from where the tee pad's pointed, it's straight at the bunker. I don't know if that's on purpose, but I'm gonna go point it to the right a little bit. Oh my God, that was atrocious. That's gonna be way left. I mean, it was where I wanted it to be, but not at all the right width. I was talking about how I'm pointing the wrong way, and then I threw it the wrong way anyways. All right, tempo, we'll correct on that. I'll get it out to the right a little bit more. There we go. Now get left. Oh yeah, made it to about circle's edge, little nose up, but I kind of like it. All right, I didn't really look at the flag on the basket when I was throwing, but there is a bit of a headwind, so definitely once I got that thing nose up, it was never going where I wanted it to. Another absolute bomb of a C2 putt. Big step putt, slightly uphill. I'll try to give this one the height that it needs. Oh, God damn, that was close. Wow, and this one was just absolutely fantastic. I feel like it, I don't know if that 2.5 is really a 2.5. The stability feels like it's more similar to a zone than you'd think. I'm liking it. I don't know, maybe it could replace my zone. Oh, this is like an actual tester. Oh, that was pretty solid. You know, most people that I saw were saying that the tempo is sort of the least stable, overstable approach disc that MVP has. I know they have the entropy and the stabilizer, and people are saying the tempo is the least stable one. This feels pretty well like stable. Now, I haven't thrown it on a forehand yet. We have a little bit of a headwind coming in, This is about 265. I'm gonna sort of push a forehand straight up there towards the basket. Pretty much exactly what you want to throw here. We'll see if it holds up on the forehand. This could be sort of where the stability falls apart a little bit, but so far, I mean, I threw 2 hyzers with it, but it feels like it has similar stability to the zone, honestly. Oh, that was turned over. I thought it would fight the headwind a little bit better. All right, we'll try and throw this one a little bit more flat. Headwind's picked up a little bit too while I was talking. I wasn't really paying too much attention. I'll try to hit this pretty much flat. I won't try and flex it over too much. Oh, okay. I definitely didn't mean to flex that the way that I did, but that might be the less stability that I was talking about. Let's try that again. I'll throw one more with that. You know, my backhand's pretty good right now. I feel like I've been working on it a lot this off season. Forehand is just not where it needs to be currently, so I apologize if my forehands aren't that good. I'll try and hit this almost on a little bit of hyzer. This headwind might be doing a little bit more than I thought. Oh, that was looking really good and I just pulled it. Well, we'll just play it. You know, this is a good opportunity to just try a standard forehand up shot. We're pretty much perfect range for a standstill forehand up to the basket. We'll see how it feels. Oh, that's nice. I think I might have just juiced it. Oh yeah, skipped about 25 long. Man, after how terrible these drives were, I think I may need to do a video of just a forehand only round, because these were just not it. I gotta get those dialed in. Oh, fading out early. Well, the zone is a tap-in for par. You got kind of a long look from the tempo though. Man, just a little easy flick. This thing was really nice. Just on like a little baby flick. I didn't really have to throw it that hard. But I feel like once I gave it some juice, it might just be because I haven't thrown forehands in a while and I'm overturning them a little bit, but I felt like it just didn't like the torque out of my hand. The zone kind of handled the torque even though I threw it a little bit too turned over, but the tempo just kind of wanted to flutter out of my hand a little bit and get way left really early. Oh yeah. Oh, the putt's starting to feel better. Just weeks before the season starts. All right, we've been playing a lot of holes kind of sort of towards the upper end of the range for these discs, usually on like a max distance. Not like max distance, but like a max golf line. I'm gonna be throwing a disc like this, like a zone or a tempo on is probably somewhere around 260 to 280. Anything further than that, approaching 300, I'm probably throwing either a mid-range or like spike it in like a Firebird. So let's try and test these more in the range where I'd be throwing them more often. This is a little bit over 200 feet, I think like 205. Island hole, just gonna give it a little bit of a hyzer, see how both of these handle, sort of ground play and just how the stability feels. Zone should be pretty straightforward. Try and put it close. I'm not gonna try and play it safe, so we'll try and park it. Oh, skip in. Oh, that might be on the line. I didn't quite fight back like I wanted to, but that's what you get for trying to park it. I'll try and give this a little more hyzer because I think, although it didn't feel like it on the first couple of holes, you know, the mixture of wind and throwing them on just pretty much big hyzers, I don't think I quite got a good feel for the stability here. I think this isn't quite gonna bite back the same way the zone does. Oh yeah, a little bit of extra hyzer for sure helped. Oh, and I went long. This thing glides pretty far. I threw that, I think with the exact same power, and it went about 20 feet longer. Oh man, both of these are just barely in the hazard. I definitely could have eased up. Even the zone looks like it's a little bit long. Even if it came in on the right width, it would have been about a couple inches from the bricks. Oh, this is a fun putt. Little downhill tester from the hazard. Oh, that caught a little bit of wind at the very end. Wanted to fade out. It's almost like I wanted to miss it to keep them even. All right, this hole, got another red. This is hole 8 from the reds. It's 220, just a little bit downhill. Playing a little bit into the headwind. Should be a nice little touchy forehand from the tee. See if we can put them close. I think both of these are flying a little bit further now that I'm getting a little bit more warmed up. I definitely, you know, came out of the car through the first couple of holes with no warm up. So now that we're more warmed up, throw them a little bit harder. Got to ease back a little bit. I am starting to see the differences in stability that people talk about. So took a couple of throws, maybe on my part, but here we'll give another shot for the forehand. A little bit less of a gap hit, a little bit more of just a standard forehand out into a bit of more of an open space, so maybe we can get a little bit more of that stability. Oh, I didn't even think about where that tree was. Okay, we got to fade in front of that tree a little bit. I'll try and get this a little more hyzer. We pushed into that tree just left of the basket. Oh, there's that difference in stability for sure. That was a pretty good shot. Yeah, came out with a little bit more flutter, so not quite as torque resistant as a zone. At least it seems like it to me, which I'm surprised by because MVP mid-ranges usually are pretty decently torque resistant, and it wanted to push out to the left a little bit before it faded. It kind of pushed straight a little more. So just a little bit less stable, especially on the forehand. Well, it looks like both of these ended up with very similar distance putts somehow. This is about a 30 footer, I think. Got a little bit of a left to right headwind coming in. Oh my goodness, atrocious. Tempo seems like it's almost the exact same range. Maybe this time I can put a little bit of hyzer on my putt so it fades into the basket. That last one was just miss right. There we go. Oh, it almost spit. That's what you gotta do. Getting the putt figured out. All right, great hole here to test these two discs out. Hole 13, the water carry from the Reds. It is 255. We got the tree out to the right, so we can't just throw a big hyzer. So we're gonna try and hit it flat and get it to fade at the end. I'm gonna try to go basically between that little birch in the middle and the pine tree on the right. Now there's a little bit of right to left wind, so we definitely wanna get these things out there flat, maybe a little bit of a flex line, because the wind's gonna wanna push it left as soon as it starts to fade. This is probably pretty good conditions to get a feel for how these discs are gonna fly based on the differences in their glide and their stability. And it's a pretty good distance too, 255, kind of right in that range, especially for a backhand where you're throwing a decent power shot. It's where if I'm throwing, you know, this tee shot or an up shot from this distance, I'm probably reaching for something like a zone or a tempo. Just a side note, by the way, I have pretty much done all of my throwing with drivers and like a little bit of mid-ranges in the off season. Haven't really thrown many putters at all. I've noticed that throwing putters lately, not been that good. So might not be a bad idea to come out here and play the Reds or just play some pitch and putt courses so I can get used to throwing these again, because man, you have to throw them a little bit differently. That's just how it goes. Oh, that could be an ace. Parked. Beautiful. Tempo time. I'm gonna try and throw it pretty much the same. I'm not gonna try and change anything. See if we can get a really good read on the difference between these two discs. Oh, it's pretty much exactly the same. We got a little bit more of a wind lift. Also literally parked. I don't know, maybe these are really similar. I think on a forehand, they're like, you have a little bit lower of a spin rate on the forehand, a little bit more wobble, and I think the two discs handle that like difference in spin and torque differently. But on a backhand where you got really nice spin rate, I can get it off my hand a lot cleaner, they feel a lot different. So if you're looking for a backhand only disc, maybe the tempo is pretty good replacement for the zone, but for forehands, definitely feel different. I guess I just had to talk about how bad I've been throwing these for me to just start throwing them great. You know, the zone is not quite as parked as I thought. It went a little bit further. And look at that, tempo is absolutely parked. Doesn't get much better than that. 260, a little bit uphill. Actually, pretty decent ways uphill. Got a little bit of a left to right headwind coming at us, so we should be able to put these on a pretty good amount of power and put them pretty close to the basket. There is OB long of the basket, and it drops off to that walking path where the OB is, so you definitely don't want to go too far. I'm going to try to do something similar to the last hole, keep it a little bit flat. I want to see how it holds going straight and then fading out. I don't want to just throw hyzers with these every single time, so we'll try and go, if you can see that stake right in front of us to the right of the basket, I'm going to try and throw kind of flat over that and then hope it fades out right near the basket. Got the Get Freaky zone starting us off. Oh my God, I threw that so hyzer. What was that? Oh my goodness, that was atrocious. Okay, well, let's just see where the tempo goes, huh? We'll try and throw it a little bit better. Oh, that was so bad. There we go. Throw it like you mean it. Okay, I think that's pretty much parked. There's a small chance it skipped long, but we'll at least go see where that is. Zone is OB, it lost this hole. That was kind of on me, but that was atrocious. I don't even gotta set the camera up for this one. Easy peasy. Okay, this is a bit of an experiment for myself. This is 380 downhill, a little bit of a headwind that I'm realizing now, which is gonna make this very difficult. I wanna see if I can get either of these onto the green. And by the green, I mean where that basket is down there is where a golf green used to be. I wanna just get it on that plateau. If I can get either of these discs down past that bunker early of the basket onto that green, I think that'd be pretty sweet. This doesn't really have much to do with the flight of the discs or testing them out. I just kind of want to see if I can do it. Go zone first. And I gotta stop throwing this thing on too much hyzer, man. Oh, the wind's pushing it left. I still think I threw that okay, a little nose up. Oh, in the bunker. Okay, tempo. The tempo can do it. Gotta go a little more nose down, a little bit less hyzer, because the wind's gonna push it left. I'll try and aim right a little bit more as well. Oh, that might be it. I might have made it. Get on the green. Yeah, look at that. Not that bad, huh? That's a headwind too. Not bad. Something I do want to point out is I grabbed the Get Freaky zone because it was a zone I didn't have in my bag or in my fieldwork bag, but it's noticeably more flexible than the Tempo, even though maybe the inner plastic feels similar. And there's a reason it's not in my bag and I don't use it anymore. Although it's like kind of a more gummy plastic, it just doesn't really come out of my hand that well, and I don't really like it on a lot of shots. So there's a reason I don't have it in my bag. So that could kind of be a part of the reason why I'm not throwing it that well. If I took the zone out of my bag that I throw in tournaments, I think it'd be probably a bit more of a fair comparison. I think some of these errant shots that I've had, probably a little bit to do with the disc that I'm throwing. I mean, it obviously is my fault, but I'm just telling you that for some reason, this disc and I do not get along very well. Either way, we've got some bunkers up on the left of the basket. 255 again. Feels like every single hole is 255 on this course. I don't know why. Like every hole I've played has been 255. There's no way they're all within one. Like one's not 256. I gotta get my rangefinder out here and start writing on the T signs. Don't actually do that. Anyway, another chance to get like a backhand flat shot. Flex it up to the basket and try to land right at it. We'll kind of push out to the right in between the two trees that you're seeing, in between the tree near the basket and the one off to the right. Just kind of hit that gap right in the middle, get it to fight out at the end. I think we maybe got one more hole after this. I'm getting a pretty good feel for how I feel about these discs, whether or not the Tempo is making the bag, and what I think the big differences between the two are. Well, I didn't quite see where it landed, but I think that's parked. Tempo time. These have been flying pretty similar on backhand. They feel like they fly very similar on backhand. Okay, that's holding more straight. That definitely held more straight. I think I threw those pretty similar, and it kind of pushed and then faded, where the zone kind of arced more with the fade. That kind of pushed and then just faded out the very end of the flight. If you were curious, the difference in stability between these two discs, there you go. It's about 0.5 fade right there, isn't it? Man, I have no confidence in my putts right now from like really close. Like, I shouldn't be this nervous for a 10-footer. Gotta get out in the course, get some putts and rounds. It's not the same as putting in your garage. Okay, last hole we're playing here. 235 from the Reds, this is hole 17. This time we have a tailwind, and it's a little flick, so this should be kind of the last test we should have where we can see the difference in forehand between these two discs. I know I've thrown mostly backhand. There's just not a lot of like natural forehand shots in this course for a disc like this. I think this should give us a pretty good feel. I wanted to throw it really very high power. I should be able to see the fade and kind of get a feel of how it comes off my hand as well. So zone should be pretty straightforward. I'm gonna try and push it out to the left a little bit, see what the stability does. Not really worried about parking it. We just want to see the flight of the disc here. Pretty simple, and I think I did kind of park it. Okay, same thing, easy little forehand. Just push it out and see where it goes. Yeah, just kind of fluttered, came out a little nose down. Just doesn't come off my hand as clean with the forehand. The backhand, it feels really good, but I can't quite get it to come off my hand clean with the forehand. And I know it's not me necessarily. I mean, maybe it is to an extent, but I'm throwing the zone. You can see I threw the zone pretty similar right there, and it flew fine. You know, even though I didn't throw it very well, tempo did get to a pretty good spot, even though I threw it pretty much at the ground. I thought it was way shorter. My hands are just like a little dry too. Not quite getting the pop that I need. It's only like 45, 50 degrees, and it's kind of muddy, so your hand just gets the mud on it, just dries out your fingers. Every putt just kind of feels like it flutters out of my hand a little bit. There we go, that was nice. My overall conclusions with these discs. They're obviously very different discs. They're not meant to be the same disc. There's a reason they have different flight numbers. They're made by different manufacturers. They're not gonna fill the same slot in your bag. So if you're looking for a zone alternative, this is not what you want. It does have a pretty shallow profile, like the zone. So if you like a shallower profile disc, the tempo will be nice for you. Where I think the key differences are, obviously, like the flight numbers suggest, I think the glide is pretty much the same. I didn't see one gliding much further than the other. Maybe in different conditions, it's a little bit breezy here. If it were like super calm, we might see a little bit more glide, but at the low speed that it's at, I just don't think the glide is really that much of a difference. They're pretty much the same. However, that extra little bit of stability that the zone has definitely shows up in a lot of the cases when I'm throwing it. And so for that, I think this is more of a straight flying disc with a little bit of fade, where this is more on the side of a bit of an overstable disc. Obviously, a zone can get beat up and kind of be similar to a tempo, but I think on backhand, on a lot of those shots that require a bit more of a push, the tempo does outperform the zone. However, where I think the tempo kind of falls apart for me is with the forehand. It doesn't really come off my hand that nice. It doesn't have that torque resistance that you need. That might be because it's a shallower disc, a little bit less stable of a profile. It does have a bit more of a rounded feeling edge than the zone, I think. I mean, I don't really know that much. They seem kind of similar, but it's a bit shallower for sure. For someone who has a little bit less torque, a little bit slower of an arm speed, this might be a fantastic forehand disc, and I'm sure tons of people love throwing this forehand. For me, it just felt a little bit squirrely, like I couldn't get a hold of it, and in order for me to be able to throw it consistently on a forehand, it had to be kind of from a 200 and in range. Anything above 200 feet, I just couldn't feel like I could throw this accurately with the forehand. That being said, I think overall it's a great disc. I think it's really fun to throw. Like, I wouldn't really throw it a lot on forehand, but if I needed a spot in my bag for a slightly straighter zone, I would love this for backhands. Unfortunately, I kind of have those slots filled already in my bag, so they're not going to make the bag, but I do think this is a fantastic disc. Feels great, it flies really nice, and it has a beautiful stamp. So definitely a good release for Jerm for his first Tour Series disc with MVP. Get yourself one at otbdisc.com. Use code WARMUP at checkout for free shipping. Thanks for supporting me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.